No, that wasn't intentional. Today's a bit of a slow day. It's Sunday morning. I've got loads of essays to do and I really don't want to start them. And yeah, I thought, do a little bit of procrastination, my favourite friend. I made a list of the things I want to talk about, but I actually hated the fact that I had to make a list of things because I want this to be more organic and just be what I'm thinking about and maybe like a bit of a stream of consciousness or something, but well, it doesn't have to be, does it? It can be whatever I want it to be. But I guess I wanted to talk about this wicked series of conversations that I had with Emily on Friday. Hello. About, I guess, really about art and what we want our art to be about, and also, you know, sort of discussion about all the death of the author and that type of stuff. But yeah, it was just really nice to know that someone else is like interested in what the art is actually gonna do. How do I explain this? I mean, in terms of, for me, I don't want my work to be selfish and purely just about me recording my life, because how is that going to benefit anyone else? And I just think it's a bit of a pointless endeavour, really, to just make it and it not to have any significance, or I don't know, just for it to be, oh, that's pretty, if that's people's reaction to it. I know maybe that's enough, but at the same time, I don't think it is enough for me. I really want them to be part of it, I guess. But also at the same time, it is a bit optimistic to hope it might be a life-changing event for them. But you know, there are books I've read and works I've seen that have changed my life, and I want my work to be like that, rather than just something on the wall that people appreciate for what it looks like, or yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, Emily gave me this wicked book of instructions and stuff. Yeah, I like this idea of instructions got going on at the moment, like instructions of how to read your work and how to understand it, something like that, because I think like it might be patronising, some people might think that's a bit too patronising, but at the same time, like what Emily was saying about like work things that she did last year when she tried to get people involved with her work, and she like basically did this, took a photograph and took it down like digitally to paint by numbers. Not digitally, I think she just did it. I don't really know. I didn't understand. It's a bit too clever for me. And yeah, she took it down to paint by numbers, and then she like sent it to like people in her college and her friends and stuff, and no one even sent it back. And I just found that so depressing, that some people just don't want to know about art. They really don't. And what can you do about that, really? But I just think that it's such a like, I mean, everyone, well, not everyone, I mean, obviously like blind people or something, have like a visual understanding that, you know, you would have thought it would be so universal that everyone could, you know, essentially relate to it. And I just felt so frustrated that, because I thought that just sounded really fun. I just thought, why wouldn't someone want to colour that in and, you know, make it their own? Why wouldn't they want to do that? Right? How much time is that really going to take of your life? And that would find that a bit depressing. So I suppose you really have to find a certain way to, basically it's really hard to get like the general person's attention. And I guess I hadn't really realised that quite so much, because last year the piece I made, I did feel like the majority of people were just like, oh, those pictures are funny, but they didn't really get what the work was actually about, which is sort of about what it's meant to be about, you know, change through your choices, and that you essentially can change. Anyone can change. And that it's your responsibility, but also it's not just a responsibility, because it's a liberating realisation that you can change anything about yourself. It's funny because I've only just realised that properly through my own life now. But at the same time, maybe the artwork that's not helpful because it is a self-realisation process, and someone showing it to you doesn't really help. I don't know. That's something I need to think about. But yeah, like, it's just a real difficulty getting this balance between, you know, it being a complex meaning and meaning something to you, and then realising that, you know, someone else is going to be interpreting it and they could have an infinite amount of meanings or interpretations of it or whatever, and that, like, does it really matter if they don't have the same ones as you? But actually for me it kind of does, because I want to communicate that message. So how do I communicate that message clearly without, you know, isolating anyone in particular, but also I guess the work just has to exist on different levels, in which, you know, maybe the initial one is, ooh, that's interesting, and people want to look at it. A second one might be that once you've got their attention, they're thinking, oh, why is it like that? Why have they done that? But at the same time, I think there are just people who will look at a piece of work and they don't care what it's about, and they don't really want to question it. So what do you do with those people? Do you just think, well, you know, if they're like that, there's nothing I can do about it? Or do you need to cater to that or not? Something I find really confusing. But I don't really want to isolate anyone from my work, actually. I really want it to be quite a open-ended thing. Not open-ended, but open to people. I don't want to isolate people from it, because I just think that's really patronising. But at the same time, if I'm lowering the, like, complexity of the meaning of it, is that also patronising? I think maybe I care too much. Yeah. Funny. Caring too much. Me and Emily watched this video on Friday, one of Van Lynn's videos, the drink or treat, or was it trick or drink? No, drink or treat. No, drink or trick, I think it was. But it was like about her growing up with like alcoholism and her family and stuff, and it was like amazing. It was so honest and so cleverly put together, and me and Emily and a couple of other people in the studio, like Alice. I think Alice ended up having to watch it 3 times, because after we watched it we were like, oh, can we watch it again? So we enjoyed it so much. But I just, you know, when you see someone else's work and you're like, oh, I love that, I love how they put that together, I love what it was talking about, and you just think, oh, how do I do that? And you just, I don't know, because I was saying to Emily, I really don't have my own visual language yet, but at the same time, like, I guess people would look at my work and they'd be like, oh, that's Emily's, but actually I don't think they would, because it's been so mixed up for the last year. Like, I didn't know where I was going, and I've just done all sorts of different things, but like, I just feel like I'm being pulled in all these different directions of where I could potentially go. At the same time, I do realise that, you know, it's just dependent on the idea. If you're going to be more conceptual based, which I guess for me is quite important, because the idea is what I find interesting about it. But also I want it to be interesting to, like, you know, look at, like, aesthetically, and it's hard to, like, get the balance in between. Like, I remember one time my tutor saying last year that you either become a Picasso or a Duchamp, and, like, you know, your work is either about, you know, this sort of instant response and sort of like emotional boom to it, or it's like more about being witty, and sometimes what it ends up looking like just doesn't matter. It's like the idea behind it. But I think you can get a balance in between. I really do. And maybe, like, it doesn't even matter. Maybe sometimes my work can be all about the idea, and sometimes it can be all about what it looks like, and sometimes in between. And maybe it's just you're always working to try and find that balance. Maybe. I don't know.